Hey everybody, welcome to episode 67 of Making It. I'm Bob Clagett, here with Jimmy Diresta.
1967 is my birth year, so this is going to be a good one.
Nice. And David Picciuto.
Hey man, what's up?
Not much, what's going on?
I'm just having a good time here.
Right on.
One day we got to play the outtakes, the things that happen just before we start.
It's so fun.
I don't know if it'd be funny to anybody but us, but
Yep.
We'll see.
Yep. We had a rough start, but now here we are.
Yeah.
Bob had a rough start. Let's be real clear. Yeah, let's be real clear.
You can pin it on me. That's fine.
Well,
what's up? What are you guys working on? What you been up to?
I don't have anything on my bench right now because in the morning we're taking off to Richmond, Indiana. Kelly is taking some basket making classes. If you don't know, she's a basket maker. And it just so happens that in Richmond, Indiana, they have what's called Antique Alley. And so I'm going to take my camera and I'm just going to do some vlog style stuff of me trying to find things in these many antique stores that they have to find something to upsell or upcycle. And I just finished the upcycle of the clock and had a really good reaction with that. And last week we went to a flea market and I filmed me buying stuff there. I haven't put out that video yet. I haven't had a chance to edit it. So that's what I'm working on right now. And last night I had a awesome time recording with the Reclaimed Audio guys.
Nice.
Oh, cool. You're going to be on with them?
Yeah. And it was real fun. We talked about changes and lifestyle changes, changes in the shop, and it was a really good topic, and I was able to.
Yeah, those guys are awesome. Yeah. I'm giving Tim, I think I told him, giving Tim one of my old saws, so
cool.
I'm going to go out there and see him, and we're going to shoot together in his shop eventually in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, good guys.
Cool. Do you know when's that episode coming out? Do you know?
I actually don't know. It's out for their Patreon subscribers or followers right now, so I would imagine that's coming out real soon. Probably by the time you hear this.
Awesome.
I am working on a few videos right now. Actually, I finally got to doing some videos for my channel. So I'm working on a leather backpack for my channel, which is good because I'm making the hardware in brass. I'm actually doing the leather work, which is something that I'm not extremely experienced in. So you'll be learning along with me. And I'm taking some bizarre, weird approaches. So I can only imagine the leather workers are going to be punching their computer screens. And so
that's the goal, right?
Not exactly. The goal is to just try and get it done. But like when things like funnel through my brain, they're always done back asswards. So we'll see. We'll see how that comes out. I'm still in process with that. There's still a long way from the goal. And I bought a dovetail jig at the Atlanta show, and I started playing around with that. And then, David, you were talking about going through antique shops. It's a big thing for me to walk through antique shops and look for ideas and see things that I already know about, but I don't think about. And when I see something, I go, oh, that's something I could work on. So it's a great thing to walk through antique shops, even if you're not going to pay for anything or buy anything. So it's a big part of my thought process. Just there's a few upstate that I hit.
Cool.
And one of the last times I walked through an antique shop, there was these factory bins, and it was made in wood with like a handle on either end. And I just took a digital picture of it. But when I got back to my shop and I started thinking, what can I use this dovetail jig for? In the process of making my ice picks, I end up with these bins all the time. And I kind of knock them out quickly on the table saw. And I always try and make them all the same size. And I end up giving them to the guys who ship my ice picks. So I give them, so the bins are all over the place. So I decided to use the dovetail jig to make 4, air quotes, factory bins for my ice pick process. But in the meantime, I'll make these 4 cool boxes that I won't readily leave somewhere else, and they'll be around my shop. So they'll be used in the process of me manufacturing my ice picks. And the dovetail jig takes a little bit of trickery to get right, but once it works, it's just like a dream. And I'm happy to play with that.
Is there something like really specific about this one that works well versus other ones, or is it just...
No, I mean, I think if you see anybody use them, sometimes you have the ones that have like the blind dovetails. It has like kind of the rounded dovetails that it's like kind of takes the shape of the router bit. This is one just free clear through. It looks just like a regular dovetail when you're done. This shows on all sides. And I was telling, before we got started, I was telling David, so I was in the middle of making this video, which is still half done. I'm making 4 bins out of this one chunk of wood that I had. It was a plank. And I was in the process of cutting the dovetails, and I have the bit that's tapered That would be for cutting the cutting the tails. And I had the router bit running, and I had the router running, and I put it down, and I put the bit too close to one of my steel bricks, and the two little tiny pieces of carbide steel that stick off the end of the bit tapped that, and they both broke off. So now my dovetail bit is no longer a dovetail bit; it's a broken router bit. And I tried to use, like in the video, you'll see I actually used it for one last shot, and it immediately began to burn because it was missing like the two most important pieces that cut the hole. So I got home late Sunday night and I rush ordered 2 more dovetail bits. Hopefully they come in time for me to finish this video. So that's annoying. Little production problem.
Yeah. With where you live, is there a place like around the corner that you can go quickly and pick up things? Nope.
No, I mean, I could probably Hail Mary and check the hardware store if this doesn't come today or tomorrow morning. But likely they don't have it because it's a 7-degree dovetail bit made by Peachtree or sold by Peachtree, probably made by somebody else. But I bought it at the show where they had the Peachtree woodworking catalog there. They had everything from the catalog there. And it is kind of annoying that I do not have a Woodcraft. There's no Woodcraft in all of New York State that I'm aware of. When I go through any other city, I always like, oh, there's a Woodcraft. Oh, there's a Woodcraft. We don't have any place here that specializes in woodworking tools, which is extremely annoying. And what else did I want to tell you? I'm working on the kindergarten tables. Dave and I started working a video for that today. I made 3 of them already. We're going to make another 4, so I'm videotaping the next 4 because now that we're practiced in the art of making these tables, it'll look better. I always say you go to school on the first few, and then you figure it out. And so that's why now we've finally started to film. So that video will be me and Dave. And then Dave and I are going to be upstate next week working on a really interesting project I just kind of booked. Today I sat down with my client, and we went through some serious notes. I'm building a big beehive house. He's going to have 18 beehives in it. It's going to basically be a house on a farm. We're going to build it in my backyard, which just happens to be about 5 miles from the farm that's going to have this bee. He's raising echinacea and honey. So he's going to use both echinacea and honey from this farm. So part of his promotional video, he's a friend of mine that just started a cosmetics line called Pharmacy. And
with an F?
Yeah, that's right. With an F, Pharmacy. It's in a couple of the big retailers right now. It's in Sephora, which was their first big opening.
Nice.
And so he's doing really well, much better than he ever expected. So this beehive house is going to be part promotion for some of the video he's doing. But Dave and I discussed, so Dave's going to use his quad. Hopefully Dave's going to do a video. I'm going to do a video, and then they're going to do a video. So there'll be 3 videos on this beehive house that we have to build from Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday I have to install it. Which is a few miles. So we're going to build it in pieces and do like a barn raising about 6-7 miles from my house. It should be interesting. I have no idea what to expect. It should be fun, but come hell or high water, it's going to get done.
What are you making it of?
I'm going to use fresh cut lumber from a couple of sawmills right near my house. It's going to be a kind of a board and batten style that you see like on old farms. So you have like a 10-inch board and a 2-inch board, a 10-inch board and a 2-inch board that overlaps the joint. So it's going to be like that. Yeah, kind of just it suits the farm style that's already on the property. So
awesome.
Looking forward to getting all that done.
Yeah, it'd be fun. Is the weather good for building outside and all that right now up there?
I hope so, because we're going to be building in the rain or the sunshine. Whatever happens, happens. Because as you know, I don't have a big garage.
Yeah. Well.
So we'll see what happens there. So we're going to do all the fabrication in my yard and then bring it down the road to the place, install it on next Thursday.
Awesome. That'll be cool. For me, I just got back from New Orleans. I was in New Orleans this weekend for Mini Maker Faire. Gave a talk down there, and I did a talk by myself and then a talk with a couple other guys that were local, and both went really well. The people were awesome. New Orleans is really cool. I'd never been there before, right? So it was interesting to see a lot of new stuff. I didn't get to see tons of the city, but I got to walk through the French Quarter by myself, for a day. That was fun. And there was a French Quarter Fest was going on at the time. So there were like 23 stages or something set up outside all over that area. So there was just tons of, brass bands and all sorts of stuff. It was great.
It's a great part of the country to hang out in.
And then I ended up after the Maker Faire, I found that there's a place called City Park right there near it, which is a huge, beautiful park. And I just kind of stumbled onto it. And so I spent another afternoon walking around in City Park and I got some questions to do like a Q&A video, so I was walking around doing Q&A, and that was fun. But yeah, it was a really good trip. Great. People were great. Talk was great. Maker Faire it's a mini one, so it was relatively small, but it was pretty good size, and I think they said it was considerably bigger than the last couple that they had. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool. I went there last year. It was great. Met some really good people.
Yeah, they all spoke very highly of both of you guys, but you from having been there last year.
It was fun. Cameron's a nice guy. He was running the show still, Cameron?
Yep.
Cool. I was going to try and make it, but I just had so many things jammed up. I was actually in Virginia Beach over the weekend, so I had to go for a family party. So
yeah,
I missed the opportunity to go.
Well, maybe we'll all go back down there sometime. It was a lot of fun. I had lunch with a really nice couple, and got to meet some like local people that are makers down there and talk to them about what they're doing and what the city's like and stuff. So it was cool. I got to go visit. There's a couple maker spaces in New Orleans. One of them was called Idea, like IDIYA. Clever naming. So I got to go see that space. It was really cool. They've been going for a year or so, I think, and then they're expanding it. So I got to see the expansion, and they told me about what they're doing. And then there was another one that I was supposed to be able to go to that I didn't. I got a really bad headache one night, and so I couldn't. I just ended up staying in the room. But I missed the chance to go to this one, and this one is called the Pin Church, and that's the name of the building that it's in. And basically, it's an old church that they converted into a pinball museum. So it's pinball machine museum / makerspace / audio studio and stage. It sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And so one of the talks I did was with both of the guys that run those two different makerspaces, and they have very different approaches and different people that use their space and all this stuff. And I'd actually kind of like to talk with you guys about some of the stuff that we talked about in that talk, but we'll get to that. Anyway, so it was a great weekend. It was very cool.
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
Oh, let me tell you about that.
Is that Alexa?
That is Alexa.
Who's Alexa?
Oh,
was that the
never mind,
thing
Alexa.
From Amazon?
It's funny because I had that. I did not plan that, but that was perfect. I had that listed here as in my notes as follow up on Echo.
I thought we don't have guests. Who is this?
This is Alexa. Okay, well, I've talked about this before, right? The Amazon Echo thing.
Yeah,
but they just released a small one, and it doesn't have the speaker in it, so it's cheaper, and you hook it up to your own speaker, but it does the same thing. But since she's here, Alexa, tell me a joke.
Why do ghosts make good cheerleaders? Because they have so much spirit.
Yeah, she's not great at jokes, but I was just going to point out the fact that it's so cool to have this thing like in my office at my desk. It's hooked up to the speakers of my computer, and so I can just like call out what I want it to play, and it just starts playing music.
Ask her if she knows the birthday of one of the founding fathers. Whose birthday is it tomorrow?
Oh, it's tomorrow or today?
I think it's tomorrow.
I think it's today.
It's today, Mo.
Alexa, when is Thomas Jefferson's birthday?
Thomas Jefferson's birthday is April 13th.
Ooh, you're right. It is tomorrow. Anyway, I was going to point out the fact that it's super
smarter
cool.
Than Alexa.
You are. It is smarter than me. I was the one that was wrong.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But anyway, this thing is super cool. This one's called the Echo Dot. And it's like I said, it's just like they cut the head off the top of the Echo. And so it's just the microphone, just the button, and the light and everything. And you hook it up to your own speakers. And so it's cheaper, but it still does all the same stuff. And it's super cool.
Is that the one that they showed untested a few days ago?
They may have. I'm not sure.
Is it like a pancake version?
Yeah,
okay.
It's short. It's like they literally just cut the top 2 inches off of the big one.
Cool.
I know it from. I happened to see a commercial with Alec Baldwin.
Oh yeah, those are good.
Talking about it. That's how I first saw it.
Yeah. Anyway, they're super cool, and I know I'm a nerd about stuff like that, but anyway, it's a lot of fun.
It's like I have Siri on my phone, as do many of us, and lately Taylor has encouraged me, and I don't know if I probably talked about this, to tell Siri to remind me to do things, and it's actually been a great help. I'm remembering to do it more and more often. So
yeah, it's really handy. And especially once you start getting all those things connected to each other and connected to all your other, it's like a rabbit hole you can go down.
Wait till they all start making plans without you.
You forgot to pick this up from the store. I didn't know I needed that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Bob, what are you doing home?
Yeah. Why are you here? Leave the room right now. Alexa, what are you doing in here?
Is that Alexa or my wife?
Alexa, never mind. Now every time I say her name, it lights up. Anyway.
Actually, Alexa just emailed me. She said, Bob who?
So there were, I wanted to talk a little bit about one of the talks that I was a part of this weekend. And it was really cool because there were two people that were running different maker spaces. And so one of them is very focused on, like, hey, we build the resources, right? So this is a place with all the tools that you need to do 3D printing, laser, garment printing. They had, sewing machines, and they just were building out their wood shop. They were going to be working at metalworking. It's just like a resource place, right? You get membership, and that's what we typically think of as a makerspace these days. The other one was more about building a community of people around common things that they like to do. So he had a makerspace. He had tools available, and he also had audio production facility, so people could do podcasts. He had the pinball stuff, and he was trying to build a community of people that all worked well together so that they could come up with projects to do collaboratively. So it's a little bit different in, mindset between you go there to do your thing at one of them, and the other one, you go there to meet people to do things together,
That's cool.
Maybe it's a subtle difference, but so we had a big talk about that and how, diversity should be promoted within either one of those type of spaces to get more women in there and to get lots of different age groups and to, include different ethnicities and different income levels. And in fact, one of the place that's more resource heavy, one of the things that he's trying to promote there is hiring kids because he placed himself intentionally, this makerspace, in a low income area. So he's surrounded by a bunch of people, not a bunch of people, some of the people just can't afford to be a part of this. And so his way around that is, hey, why don't I give you a job? You come in here, you do some work in the space as a way to be able to use the space. And so he's providing jobs, he's getting kids off the street, and he's helping people who, like you and I come up with an idea, we go there, prototype it in the space, and then we want to start selling them on Etsy, but we don't have time. So he hires people out of the neighborhood to come in and do the production on these things.
That's great.
It's really cool, cool idea. And these two spaces both had really cool ideas, but they were different ideas within the same city, within the same, boxes, basically. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was really cool. And I was curious if you guys had any more thoughts about that. But then also thinking about makerspaces as a resource, on the way home, I was thinking about this guy that does podcasting and how cool would it be if the idea of a makerspace expanded a little bit to also be to provide resources for media production. So imagine like one of us wants to make stuff and we want to make YouTube videos about it, but we don't have cameras and we don't have tools. So then you go to a makerspace and you create your thing, but you also have the software and the cameras and the lights and the audio equipment to be able to produce content based on that.
That's pretty cool.
I don't know if anybody's doing that, but
are we inventing this right now? Are you inventing that?
Maybe. I mean, it's kind of, that's like a roll off of what one of these places in New Orleans is doing. So it's not like my idea or anything. He's providing a bunch of different stuff, but I don't know that, the production facility there is specifically for that reason.
Yeah. I know of some MCNs that are based out of LA that have production studios for YouTubers to go use. And they have access to green screens and lighting and cameras, but I've never heard of a studio with making equipment and supplies.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Yeah, so, when I get my space upstate eventually running and moving along, Dave keeps pushing the idea, which I love, is the idea of having a bunch of makers up there for whatever particular weekend it is, and the goal is to create either several movies or at least one movie of whatever it is that happens. So everyone gets tasked with building, a race car or whatever it is. I meant to say a Pine Derby, the ones that they use. Yeah. As an example, and everybody films their process of it. So out of that same weekend, we all have different things, and how those videos might cross-pollinate and reference each other. So that's something we're going to try and figure out how to do eventually. It's a little different because everyone there, might already be making content or not, maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not. That may be something you want to think about as like just another little angle to add to it.
Yeah. To
provide some of your experience in making content as part of the process of teaching. Like I'm going to teach you how to make this thing or help you make it or enable you to make it, but also
it's fun. I'm just talking to my sister about that as well. My sister right now is a jewelry designer. And she said, should I get a GoPro? I said, don't get a GoPro, not for jewelry. I said, because she's a very good photographer. I said, just use one of your 35 millimeter cameras and get a really long lens and, make it very intimate. So it's the opposite of a GoPro. But she doesn't know any better because she doesn't have experience with it.
What I like about your idea is I think that what interests me more than videos of people making stuff is the process of which they go through. So if 5 people are making a Pinewood Derby car, you get to see the thought process of 5 different people, how they approach the problem and how they reach the solution.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, that for my makerspace experience, that's definitely part of it. Like, one of the ideas on the drawing board is, since I have such a big property, send people out to make a shelter. And, just because it's kind of a fun thing you always see, but from a maker's point of view, with a little bit of pressure, see how you could do that. Take out some hand tools and make up what you can out of what you can find and videotape that process. So on that same weekend, in that same context, you see 5 or 7 different versions of that. So
you'd have to tell them like only use 2 trees or something, because you go out after a couple of weeks and you're like totally deforested and there's like little huts everywhere.
It would look like a colony. Now, there's actually on my property now that the beavers are doing their job, there are so many trees down. A friend of mine said you got to get rid of those damn things. They're going to ruin your property. But every time we go out there, and there's more and more trees chewed down. There's this giant tree, like the bottom of it's at least 20 inches diameter. They're working on it. It's taking them a long time, but that thing is going to fall any minute. It might have already fallen last time I was there. They had scooped out both sides. It was still hanging on. It looked like it has a corset on the tree. They just start carving from all sides, and then it gets smaller and smaller until eventually it just falls from its own weight in any direction.
That's crazy.
They're not real lumber jacks, so the thing will just fall anywhere.
Wow. The makerspace thing I think is a cool idea to think about, like how they can affect a collaborative space like that can affect where it is. Like I hadn't really considered it being in a low income neighborhood for that reason. I thought that was really cool of him. And then the other guy, is using the same type of space for a very different purpose. So I think it's cool that those can be used in different ways. Part of the conversation, though, with the fact that I was there, was that, those 2 guys they started a thing to serve a very specific purpose in their local community. Whereas me, I am in a bubble, right? I'm physically disconnected from pretty much everybody who does what I do. You know what I mean? Like, and all of us are to a degree. Like we're on our own shops. We don't like have a lot of, other than Jimmy, we don't have a lot of people coming in and out all the time. And so our platform is global at a digital sense, but not in a physical, like, we don't have that personal interaction at a physical level. So it was interesting, the 3 of us talking about like what we do and what the platform is and what it looks like and how we can affect people, in different ways. But it was cool. But given all that, I don't have a lot of experience with a physical makerspace. Like I've been in one, but I've never really spent time in one. I've never done any work in one,
I haven't either. I haven't done one. I've had a lot of meetings. Maker Faire usually has their New York meeting in a couple of different maker spaces around town, but I've never actually had the experience of working in one.
The libraries here in Toledo have started adding little maker spaces. They have 3D printers and CNCs, and they're starting to get into that to try to get the kids into the libraries. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there were a couple of guys there from, I think they were Baton Rouge, maybe, and they worked in a library, did the same thing, but they ran that little thing, and so they got to talk about their experience and like the reactions of the kids coming in and stuff like that. And in their case, they were saying what happens most often is a kid will come in, they get to look through a digital library of files that they can 3D print, and they buy one, and it's like $2 or something, and then they started printing. And then they go off in the library and get their books and do whatever other activity they're going to do. And they come back in 30 or 40 minutes and then they have a thing they get to take with them with their books, you know? So it's kind of like it's a way to bring people in and like, oh, well, while it's doing its thing, go check out some books. You know?
It's like Amazon, like, you might also like Tom Sawyer.
You might also like actual books.
I just pictured kids putting, I mean, I know I would do, I would take a book and stick it right in the CNC maker so I can cut it up.
Jimmy, you're not allowed in my library.
Yeah.
No, you know, when I was a kid, I would take books, I would try to read them and I'd say, nah, I can't understand this. And I would take them and I would cut out like the silhouette of like a snowman and you'd open it up and it would be like a big snowman. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Silhouette of like 1/4 of a snowman. You open it up and it turns into a snowman. They see, I learned something. I learned how to make a snowman out of a book.
How to destroy books. So,
I was also always making like vaults, you know, that we cut up in the pages and put stuff in them.
Oh yeah, I've never done that. I mean, I've seen you do that a couple of times. Yeah.
I've actually thought about, and this is one of my ideas for the future, is having the CNC cut out like you see in the old like westerns, like you open up the book or the Bible, and then there's the cutout of the gun in there. And I've been trying to like how can I do that on the CNC without the bit catching on the pages? So I was coming up with creative ways to compress all the pages down and then cut it, and that could be a future project.
Could you like glue all the pages into a single block? Is that kind of how you would do
that? My thought was you open up the book and then you put down a piece of like 1/4 inch or 1/8 inch plywood over top of that and have that clamped down to the pages really hard.
That might work, yeah.
I see what you mean.
That might work, yeah.
Huh.
Well, laser. Can you laser cut? How deep could you cut through a pack of paper? We're really off the subject, but it's interesting to talk about.
Depending on the laser, but most hobby lasers about 1/4 of an inch. Possibly. It depends. If you have the laser moving fast enough, it won't catch. And then a lot of the lasers have a little air blower to prevent fires from starting in there.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. And then they shoot water, too. So it's like lasers and water and air. It's a really awesome combination.
It's awesome, yeah.
And your book looks like used toilet paper when you do it.
Yeah.
All bubbled.
All right, so I got another little idea that I was thinking of on the way home from New Orleans, and I want to get both of your thoughts on this. This is a fun one. Okay, so it doesn't matter how I thought of this. I'm not going to tell that story. But I got to thinking about what we could use that we already have on us to fix things or make things or whatever. And the reason I kind of thought of this was like, I wear a belt, but I don't really need to wear a belt because my pants all fit pretty well. And you know what I mean? Like I don't actually need the belt to hold my pants up.
Yeah.
But then I was putting the belt on and I was thinking, oh, this is cool. I mean, even if I don't need it, I've got this big piece of leather with me in case I ever need a piece of leather. And then I was like, wait, what else do I have on me that I could use to, you know, not necessarily like survive on an island, but you know, and I'm not talking like multi-tool stuff. Like, what do you have, you know, like that your wallet's made out of, or that your shoes are made out of, or that type of thing that you could use to fix?
I just thought of some stupid story. Yeah, I'm already laughing. No, I started seeing the paracord bracelets where the guys walk around with a paracord bracelet that's like ready to like unwrap to turn into something else that you might need. Mm-hmm. And I always have that. Like my backpack has got a little bit of everything in it. Like I'm always ready for that. But besides my backpack, I always try and keep a little bit of piece of tape on something. You know, I talked about it in some of my videos. And, you know, if you guys have tripods and you're running around town, always keep a bunch of tape on one of the legs of the tripod that you could pull off and use if you need it. So Trust and Timber came by a couple weeks ago and he gave me a credit card, or maybe it was like a hotel key wrapped with a couple of layers of tape. And he said it's something that he keeps in his wallet all the time just so he has some tape on him. So I thought that was a great idea. So I have that. You know, he gave me one for me and one for Dave. But
is this like blue tape type
it could be, but he happened to use camouflage duct tape. But it could be any kind of tape, you know. So any kind of credit card, you can keep some tape on in your pocket. So you always have some tape on you. And in my wallet, I used to always keep a razor blade, you know, flat razor blade, just so I always have something to be able to cut with. You know, one with the paper wrapped on it, so it's always ready to go in case I needed to slice my way out of a situation.
I like the idea of tape on a credit card, especially if it's a real credit card, and then it makes you think twice if you actually have to use it. Like you hear about people putting it on ice in the freezer. Shoestrings, we all have shoestrings, so if you ever needed a little mini rope, that would work and to get you out of a pinch.
Yeah.
I'm laughing when you started talking about this because I always like to be tested in a circumstance. And so I was online at like 1 a.m. I was editing, and I went across the street to Duane Reade, which is just like a little store that's 24 hours. And I went in to try and get like a healthy snack. Of course, I couldn't find anything, so I found a pack of salted cashews. So I'm online waiting, and I couldn't wait. The guy in front of me was taking so long. So I bit the corner of the bag, and I went to like tear off the top, but it like went raw. It went crazy, and I went to pull it, and like the whole side of the bag tore open, and I blew like cashews all over the aisle while I was standing at the register. It's like I just gave it a quick yank, and the whole bag ripped into pieces, and I dropped almost every single one on the floor. And I looked at the guy and I said, "I'm sorry, is there a broom?" And he goes, "Don't worry about it. We'll pick it up." And there were cashews all over the place. So I'm thinking to myself, how can I instantly fix this? So I looked around, and there was a pile of newspapers that they were getting ready to cash in. I took one newspaper and I swept up the whole cash register area with the newspaper. I put that down, and I picked up, he had right there on the wall, a thing of cards, phone cards. And so I scooped up all the cashews with the phone cards, piled them into a little pile in my palm, and then hung the 2 phone cards back up on the pin. So within a second, within 3 minutes, I rectified the situation. Nice. And I just thought to myself, anybody else in the city that dropped an entire bag of cashews on the ground would just walk out of the store and say sorry. But I was too embarrassed about what had happened. And then I asked for a broom, and he said, "Don't worry, we'll clean it up." But I couldn't do that. I had to clean it up. Of course, I paid for them as well. But those little stupid circumstances are like little ways that you constantly get tested to be able to try and figure out how to rectify a situation. Mm-hmm. You know, either that or a couple of weeks ago, I went out to my car, and I get in the car, I start the car, and I get a thing on the dashboard. It says you have a flat tire. I was like, what? You know, because the modern cars have this thing that says you have a flat tire. So I go out and I realize my back tire is flat. I'm parked in a spot with a total flat tire. Like, what do you do? There's nowhere even anywhere around here to get air because all the gas stations have been turned into high-rise buildings. And I know that I have one of these things that you use to put a plug in your tire. You ever see those things? Mm-hmm. How they fix a hole in the tire? And I keep one of those kits in the car, and I haven't needed it in 10 years. So I'm thinking to myself, I hope that kit is still in the car. I haven't seen it. I know where it should be. And I go out there, and it's there. So I'm like, okay, that's one problem solved. Now I have to find where the hole is on the tire, and I just gently reach around. It's nighttime. I reach around, and I feel the nail. There's a nail stuck directly in my tire. I pull the nail out. I do the device, I plug the tire, and now I got to get air. How do I get air in the tire? I have this portable air tank that I've had for almost 20 years. And so now I'm like, I know where I put it in an emergency. I'm like, is it still there? I have no idea. So I go to the workshop, and it's right where I left it literally 10 years ago. And I fill it with air, and it takes me 3 trips to go to the tire to get enough pressure to drive.
Oh, man.
So I never had to leave the parking spot, and I was able to fix the tire. It put me about 45 minutes off my game where I was about to go, but I was able to fix the tire. Huh. And it's still fixed. I haven't needed to go and get it fixed again.
Oh, wow.
But just having that little plug tire kit in the car and setting up for these future disasters, it's basically like hanging a fire extinguisher on the wall and hoping you'll never need it, but knowing it's always there when you need it. So these little circumstances test you and your ability. So, and that's why I always carry a Zippo lighter too, in case I have to set something on fire.
You know, I kind of took that cue from you for a while. I lost the one that I had, but yeah, I started carrying a lighter too. Not a big one like that, but just a little cheap one. And once I had it in my pocket, I found that I ended up using it a few times. You know, not like in a situation where, oh no, I really need fire to survive, but like, oh, I could burn this nylon cord to get it not to unravel, you know, like that's handy. It's there.
It's funny. I went to a 40th birthday party for a friend of mine the other day. It's a girl, and I'm walking up the block to meet her and some friends for her dinner. And I'm like, oh, I never got her a gift. I could just write like a nice thank you, a nice birthday card. But I went into a little shop and I bought her a Zippo lighter. And everybody gave her stuff at dinner. Everyone's giving her stuff, and I gave her the Zippo lighter. She liked the Zippo lighter the most.
Nice.
She's like, oh my God, and I never had a Zippo. No one ever gave me one. And it's like everyone's like giving her expensive perfumes and stuff, and she loved the Zippo lighter for $20. So you could surprise somebody with a Zippo lighter. It's a simple gift, and she's like, I use it all the time to like light candles and stuff.
Nice. That's awesome.
So,
well, what else do you have on you currently that you carry that could be used? I mean, I know you're like a special case because you're like, I carry 25 knives and 13 ice picks and, all that stuff. But, like, what does a normal person have? You're not normal. What does a normal person have on them?
I have about 10 Sharpies in my pocket right now. And I have my Leatherman, I have razor blade, my ruler, and my tactical pen. I have a Micra, my Zippo lighter, my wallet. And on this side, I have my flashlight and my pen light. I carry a Streamlight flashlight that takes AAA batteries, 2 AAA batteries. Streamlight is the brand that I carry. They don't pay me or anything, but that's the one. I get them at Cabela's. This happens to be.
So, this is a legit question. Why do you carry a flashlight instead of using the one on your phone? Like, why do you have an extra separate thing for it? Because this is exactly why. About 80% of the time, I'm holding the flashlight in my teeth while I do something with my hands. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like this, like a cigar. And on the end of the tape, on the end of my thing is wrapped with electrical tape. So I actually have electrical tape when I need it, but it also cushions my 2 front teeth when I hold my flashlight with my teeth.
Oh, nice.
Like this. Like this. I'm doing it right now. But it's like I'm smoking a cigar. But I am constantly, because I need glasses and I need light all the time because I'm becoming an old man.
So you should mount little tiny lights on your glasses and just leave them there all the time. And then when you need them.
Don't think I haven't done that, but those batteries go quick. That you could buy those, and I've had those.
Yeah.
But those batteries die quick because they're just little dot lights. If I could carry like a battery from a car in a backpack and keep those lights lit all the time, I would do it. But then my shoulders would hurt.
Well, there's a project right there, right? Like a solar powered two little LEDs in the glasses, and during the day they charge up, and at night you can.
But I'd have to carry a solar panel on my head all the time.
Like a hat that has a solar panel on it.
There you go.
You can do this.
I look like I'm carrying a frying pan on my head all day long. But the capacitors, the storage, But yeah, no, that's my everyday carry, and the flashlight is something I just can't do without.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I know a lot of people carry knives and stuff, and of course that's a fantastic tool. I mean, I've carried a knife since I was a kid just because I could use it for everything. But I think that what really got me interested in this was like the fact that, the belt, I'd never thought about the fact that the belt was a piece of leather, not just a belt. You know what I mean? Like it's everything we have is made of the materials they're made of, and we can look at them as materials for use sometimes, in a pinch or whatever. So it'd be interesting to hear from people like what non-specific stuff they carry that could be reused, or if anybody has ideas for things that could be reused for other stuff,
Yeah, like I said, paracord is the big thing now. Everyone's using paracord for all kinds of stuff.
I like the idea of having tape on hand, because that's something that doesn't take any bulk at all, or doesn't add any bulk really. But I wouldn't have thought of adding tape to stuff just to have it around. You know what I do too, and it's on a couple of my tools. I can't think of a circumstance where anybody might have seen it, but I always buy strips of leather because we always go to the horse supply store sometimes to buy stuff. And one thing they always sell for like a few bucks, you buy a Ziploc bag full of leather strands, and they're anywhere between 12 to 24 inches. I always take the long ones and wrap them around the handles of tools that I keep in the truck, so that I always have like a leather cord for whatever. It's just the same thing as paracord, but I happen to like leather better. It seems to have a more tactile feel to it. I always keep that for whatever. And then like sometimes I find like I'm carrying a whole bunch of things, and if I have that leather strap on me, I wrap it around a couple of the things I'm carrying, so it's only just a one-hand carry as opposed to like a big arm full of junk. So I'm always thinking of ways of condensing things and wrapping a cord around them, and so I can just hold them with one hand. So that's partly why I use a lot of that stuff, because I'm always moving between my shop and my apartment and my car, and I always end up dragging a lot of stuff with me. Now, when you have things like that, do you end up like resetting it, or do you just toss it and get a new one, like add a new one to it? No, I'm such a scrounge. If I see a piece of rope in the garbage, I'm like, oh, look at that poor little piece of rope. I take it, I untangle it, I wrap it around like a Coke can or something to keep it all in order, and then I bring it back to the shop. Look at that poor little piece of rope. Aww.
Pet it.
No, anytime I see a piece of rope, to me, it's like potential something, so I grab it. Always. And then I do have a ball of twine, and I'm also a hoarder with the twine. Like if I can save it, I save it. But this morning I dropped off my ice picks at my office that ships them for me. And it's really heavy. Like 100 ice picks weighs like 50 pounds. And I had it all wrapped up with twine, and I had it tied in such a knot. that I reached for my razor knife and I actually paused for a minute. I was like, it's just twine. And I cut it. But I was going to try and untie the knot and get it back to like, a 6-foot strand of twine. I just cut it and threw it in the garbage. But I always hesitate. Like Dave and I, whenever we're together, like we just recently moved a milling machine for a friend of mine. And we had to move it across in his brownstone. We moved it across the floor and then down a set of stairs. And I had a really long piece of rope. And I said to Dave, should I cut it? He goes, don't cut it. I was about to cut it with that. He goes, don't cut it. There's no reason to cut it. So we moved it using this rope, but there was like 25 extra feet laying around. Mm-hmm. And then when we were done, I wrapped it back up and I said to Dave, thank you for not letting me cut the rope. Because I would have been annoyed that I just like cut a 100-foot piece of rope. Just simply because it was being inconvenient. So like we always avoid cutting rope, always untie it, straighten it back out, get it back in order. I'm the rope whisperer. That's my new name.
Oh, yeah, poor little piece of rope. Aww. Cool. You guys got anything else on that idea? Or anything else you'd like to talk about?
No, people should submit their stories of survival utilizing their belt.
Yeah, or anything, not just their belt.
What's your everyday carry,
Yeah. We should do an extensive EDC show.
Yeah.
Talk about all kinds of stuff.
Tweet us pics of what you carry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially like really unique stuff, like, non-knife pen kind of things.
Yeah.
But, that too.
You're going to get a lot of handguns from around the country.
Yeah, probably.
Not in New York. Handguns don't exist in New York. I don't know what they are.
Sure.
I was just in Virginia and they have open carry. Like anybody that lives there can just walk around. So just to kill time, I was with my brother. We went into the Harley Davidson store. We went into the gun store and we went into Dick's Sporting Goods. So we went into like 3 manly things while we were hanging out in the city waiting for our party to start. And we went into some gun shop and everybody in there's got a big gun on their side. It's just so foreign from, a New Yorker's point of view. Just crazy. It's like, oh wow, that guy can just like point that thing at me and kill me. It's crazy. It's just crazy to think, but that's the culture in Virginia. I'm sure, people that are listening.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, that's right. Say it to my gun.
So be nice.
Yes.
Cool. Well, we can talk about what we're watching and stuff. Before we do that, I want to thank our Patreon supporters. Especially, all of them, but especially Make, Build, Modify, Elijah Taylor, Dominic DeFino, John Cornwell, who I got to hang out with in New Orleans. Super cool. Nice guy. Yeah. Luis Gonzalez and Jeremy White. So thank you, everybody, for the support on Patreon. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Much appreciated.
And we used to have a Patreon-only thing that was patrons of a certain level could get a Making It t-shirt. And so there's really only a handful of them out there. But recently,
we have, by the time you hear this, it will be made public where you can purchase your own Making It t-shirt. Anybody.
Yes.
So, we will post a link in the show notes, but you can also find it at jukemodesupply.com/making-it. Yes, that is a mouthful. But there'll be a link down below, and you can help support the show by purchasing shirts. And maybe I will come up with a little reward to anybody that has a Making It shirt on while we're out at the Bay Area Maker Faire.
Ooh, good idea. Yeah.
They get a chocolate coin.
We'll come up with some sort of a shorter URL to make it easier.
Yes, we will.
Maybe we can do like a redirect from our
How about
website
if we're in San Francisco and you have on a Making It shirt, I will give you a 12-inch piece of rope.
There you go. You'll cut it. You'll unspool it and you'll cut it right there in front of them.
Yep. I'm going to have it wrapped around my waist.
Perfect. You hear that? Right. So, yes, good idea, Bob. We'll do a redirect. makingitpodcast.com/t-shirt will redirect you to the store.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, so we got t-shirts, and they're black shirts with white logo. That's the thing, which is, the same ones that have been out there for the Patreon supporters, but that's just another way that you can support the show. If you'd like to, you can buy a t-shirt.
And there's an opportunity there. They are, first of all, they're on high quality shirts. They're printed on American Apparel shirts, and they are screen printed. by a company called Juke Mode Supply out of Toledo, Ohio, and they are selling and shipping the shirts for us. And it also gives us the opportunity to do other things in the future. We could have beer koozies, or we could do many colors. So there's a chance in the future that there could be more to our store.
Nice.
Monogram rope.
I'm putting that on the list right now.
Monogrammed rope.
Yeah, 12-inch piece of rope.
I like it.
Just thinking.
Yeah,
it's a monogram string.
It's an idea. That's true. It's
monogram rice grains of rice with a monogram on.
Well, what are you guys watching? Anybody watch anything cool?
So I recently discovered this really cool channel. The guy's name is Dave Hackins, and his channel is called Dave Movies. And I don't know if you guys seen this, but he teaches you how to make these machines to recycle plastic into other uses.
Oh, wow.
I think I have seen some of those.
Yeah, so he has free plans to these different machines that one will chip up the plastic, just like cleaning bottles and detergent bottles and any kind of plastic that you have around that's HDPE. You can make your own machine that chips it up so you can melt it down. Another machine compresses it. One of the machines that he has free plans for and videos on how to do is how to make, Bob, you'll have to correct me on what it's called, but the line, maybe the filament line for 3D printing.
Oh yeah, just filament.
Yeah. A machine that makes filament out of recycled plastic that you have around your house. So really cool channel.
Interesting.
Peter Brown's experimented quite a bit with that.
Yes. Yeah. This is same page as Peter Brown. Mm-hmm. This guy wants to change the world and make the world a better place by reusing plastics. Really, really cool.
Awesome. So I mentioned Peter Brown. Check out Peter Brown because he's a cool dude and he makes great videos. But I was going to mention Paul Jackman Works channel. I think one of us might have mentioned it earlier on in the podcast, but I've been watching Paul's stuff, and he's been also shouting me out on Instagram, so I want to return the love. And one other thing, I got stuck in a hotel room this weekend with my brother for that day when we were killing time. And on the History Channel, there was a marathon of this show called Forged in Fire. And I'm not much for TV, but it was great because it shows a lot of different techniques. So if you watch like 5 episodes of Forged in Fire, like me and my brother did, you get like a crash course in blacksmithing. Every episode has 4 different blacksmiths on it that compete to win that episode. So we watched 16 different blacksmiths doing stuff within 2 hours. And it was just a great education, just seeing how, and if anybody's interested in doing knife making, that's what it's all about. It's about all these kind of backyard blacksmiths getting together and competing and the trials and tribulations. And so, like I said, if you watch it from a maker's point of view, you get this quick, fast education, which go, oh, now when I experiment, I'll keep in mind of these few things that I just watched. So from that point of view, it's a great education show. From a television point of view, it's the same old hokey BS that, we all expect from a television show, but there is an education there. So
awesome. I had an interesting conversation with a guy who did blacksmithing in New Orleans, and he was telling me about one of his professors in school made the point about how blacksmithing was like the most necessary skill. Yeah. Or I can't remember how he said it, but it was something to that effect. He was like, so you think about you make houses, you make those out of wood, right? Well, how do you cut wood? With tools. How do you get the tools to cut the wood? You go to a blacksmith. It was like everything trailed back to blacksmith is the first person that has to do a job so that everybody else can do their job.
They make nails, hinges, wheels.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It was really interesting. I don't know a whole lot about it, so it's not something I ever thought about before. And it was really interesting conversation that he, pointed out. But
it's something I'm experimenting with more and more. I love it.
Yeah. I don't know when or where or how I would ever get into that, but I'd love to give it a shot one of these days. So everybody listening has probably already seen this video, but I'm going to point it out anyway. Simone, and I can't remember how to say her last name because it's not pronounced like it's spelled.
Gertz or something?
It's spelled Gertz, but it's like Yurts or something.
Yeah,
it's
the pronunciation
Swedish.
is completely dynamic.
It's totally different, so I'm sorry, Simone, not that you listen to the show, but I butchered your last name. Anyway, she is now, we've talked about her, she makes the silly robots, like all the crazy stuff. And she just joined Tested, so she's going to be doing stuff with Adam Savage and Norm and that whole crew, which is really awesome for her. But the first one that she did with them was she and Adam made a popcorn machine that goes on top of her head. It's like a beer helmet, but it's popcorn. And then these two little hands scoop the popcorn into your mouth. It's just really funny. She's fun to watch on camera. She's really silly and has a good presence.
Yeah,
so,
I saw that on the Make channel the other day. It was great.
Yeah. So, you know, just shout out to that video and just best of luck to her for moving on with Tested.
Yeah,
Very
she's
cool.
moving back to America, from what I understand.
Yeah, she'll be in San Francisco. So hopefully she'll be there at Maker Faire.
Is she going to bring her boat with her?
I don't think so.
Not sure what's happening to the boat.
Yeah.
Someone let us know what's going on with the boat.
Yeah. I'm sure she listens. No doubt, you know. Cool. You guys got anything else?
I think that's it.
That's it. Awesome. Well,
You know what I got?
what'd you get?
Just wanted to say I love you guys.
Aww.
Oh,
I wasn't
love rope.
expecting that.
to all the rope out there in the world.
I love
Jimmy
rope,
loves
too.
you.
I love rope and string. And you too.
I love you too, Jimmy.
Uncomfortable silence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. I mean, I do, but cool. See you guys next week.
Later on.
I love you, rope.